At the beginning, I said it's good to be together again. It struck me as I was saying that once the parish began live streaming Sunday Mass, I've said Mass myself, but I've joined in this celebration, which has been a great source of consolation to be united with Father and all of you, at least virtually. As I looked at the readings for today and aware of Father's themes over the last months, what struck out to me was the closing of the first reading, where Samuel is given a heart filled with wisdom and understanding. Heart filled with wisdom and understanding. If you take that in the context in which it was written, heart was not so much a physical reality that we know from anatomy, etc., how it works, but heart meant the inside of a person. Who is this person? How is it that they tick? How is it they look at the world? And so what God was saying to Samuel is, I give you an inside, a way of looking at the world that is filled with wisdom and understanding. Understanding is the ability to take things apart and see how it works. But wisdom is, in light of all that complexity, to step back and say, how do I maneuver it? What's the best way to balance the pieces of complexity? And so as I think about us as a church newly regathered, not in a virtual space, but in a real space, surrounded by the space that is a pandemic, what would it look like? What would we look like if we had a heart of wisdom and understanding? What would be required to be living out a heart of wisdom and understanding in this moment? Now, we've been apart for a while, but I haven't gotten a new gig, so 3 words. You're supposed to chuckle. I mean, you're out of training. Come on. So not 4 words, not 2 words, 3 words. Perspective, patience, prayer. If we want a heart filled with wisdom and understanding in this moment, perspective, patience, prayer. Perspective is the angle we take to engage the world. So what would be the perspective I would suggest we should be considering? As a little aside, I shared with a friend last night the basic one. We were texting back and forth the theme for today. And his reply was, are you preaching to them or you? You got that one? Okay. So I'm preaching to both of us, okay? Me and you. Perspective. The first component of perspective is the horizon, the frame we bring that begins to establish perspective. And my suggestion is to be successful and grace-filled in this moment, we need to expand our horizon. I can remember, I have two stories from when I was fairly small. I was at my grandmother's in the first story, and she had sent me to get something, and I'm rummaging around in a drawer, and I came to this book. It was like, you can't see my back like that. And I said, "What's this?" And she said, "Well, that's from during the Second World War when we had to ration food supplies. And you had to have a stamp out of the book in order to buy. For much of the war, you didn't go to the store to get what you wanted. You went to the store to get what you could in order that our troops could be fed." On another occasion, and this time I was rummaging, I'll admit it, I don't know why, but it was under the china cabinet in the bottom drawer of the china cabinet in our dining room. And I pulled out this very fancy, impressive box. And I opened the box, and inside were two medals. Silver Star and Purple Heart. And an article folded in it from the Evanston Review talking about my dad. How he had been shot over Sicily, severely injured, spent weeks in the sands of North Africa with surgeries. Came home with the arm he used as a pitcher in college, severely limited. And he never complained. Horizon. The space in which we are situated needs to be expanded. Second, if we expand our horizon, I would suggest we can come to realize and celebrate that even hard and difficult times can be the source of good things not expected, and perhaps not noticed unless we look. I have spent the last months in a 4-season glassed, fairly small porch, which I made into the office. I didn't want to be confined in a room. And on an afternoon where I was sitting listening to an extremely boring conference call, it struck me I had watched winter turn to spring to summer. I'd seen trees go from barren to budded to burst to full. I'd experienced the world around as silent to a chirp here and there to birds singing. I experienced a yard that we have put 30 years into making that I'd never noticed as I have. What a gift. I never would have seen it. I have a 3-year-old great niece. They live outside Minneapolis. Without Zoom, I mean, if there's anything out of this I wish I'd done is bought Zoom. I mean, if I'd bought Zoom 6 months ago, you wouldn't see me today. But I can see her grow up now because we've seized an opportunity. It would have come eventually, but now it's ours. Out of bad things, good things can come. And finally, on perspective, you know, even though this virus has us down, we're still a nation filled with knowledge and energy and creativity unparalleled. It's going to take us a while, but there's no reason to think with time, patience, and commitment, we won't beat it. That's who we are. In terms of change of perspective, for those who are just short of total senility, can remember the Sunday night we sat and watched the first person on the moon. We'll do that. We'll get there. Patience. Last 2 parts are shorter than the first, so relax. I'm an impatient person. I don't like to wait, and I want change to happen. Once I see something that I think should be fixed, it's like, let's get it done and move on. Not as impatient as Father. I didn't say that. But you know, if you're in a situation where you can't do anything about it, to be impatient is to drive a negative energy that just eats at you, but gets you absolutely nothing except more impatience. So our goal should be to develop the virtue of patience. Patience. Now, this next suggestion is going to come out of, you're going to look and say, well, I could read any self-help book. I don't have to come to church for this. stop and breathe. It's very simple. When you feel that welling up, take a deep breath. And as you take a deep breath in and out, just simply say, God, I know you love me. Breathe in, breathe out. God, I know you love me. Which takes us to the third P, prayer. I'm not talking about the prayer, oh God, free me from this pandemic. That's a good prayer. That's not a bad prayer, but that's not the prayer I'm talking about. I'm talking about the prayer of a disciple, the prayer of one baptized into the Lord Jesus, the prayer that knows that God came and became one with us and died to save us and has sent the Spirit to be with us. The whole world is changed. That's the God that we want to walk with, talk with, be with. How different it all becomes if we're standing in and with God. There's a great image in the book of Genesis, my friends, before the fall, describing Adam and Eve walking with God in the stillness of a late afternoon. That's prayer. Think of the best times with your spouse when your hearts seem to burst and are united. Think of the happiest time with a friend. Think of a sunrise whose beauty you've never seen before. Think of all that. And that's walking with God in prayer. We have the time. We have the means. All we have to do is do it. Walk with God in prayer. And so, if we are to have a wise and understanding heart in the time of a pandemic, I suggest together we consider the right perspective, patience that we work for, and prayer that will change everything. Let the church say,